Right, so 86 max attack is who I'm going to connect to. That must be Ron's friend. Hallelujah.
Success.
See that phone? Throw it in the bin.
Yeah. Throw the old Huawei in the bin and get a good old, what's this?
Oh,
iPhone.
It was the North Koreans. The North Koreans
with their Huawei's. Yeah.
Right.
How
I
are you,
had a
Nigel?
big intro sorted out for you in the previous broadcast that went into the gutter.
Throw it out the window, I'd say, at this stage.
No, before we start, I was just gibbering on about our previous podcast recorded. It was with Sean Maynard of America. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. Did you listen to it, Ronan, did you?
I did. I hate the man because he has the best job in the world.
Yeah, it was brilliant to listen to him, so it was.
He gets
Then we done lockdown logs. Connor done them on Saturday with Mike and Ian Kay. Two cool guys. Good to hear from them. And I was just saying that if you're listening to the podcast, give us a shout. Come on, live chat. If you want to show us around your car, have a bit of crack, you're more than welcome. So this guy here is Ronan _H21, and he's eating potato, cheese, and onion. I think that's what we bonded over, first of all, many years ago, Ronan.
That's the proper cheese and onion. You tried to rob it, right?
Yeah.
That's the real one.
Ronan bribed me for prizes using boxes of potato. So he did.
You see, they all tried money for years. All you need is a jumbo pack, a cheese and onion potato, and you get a prize.
If only life was so simple. Does it work?
Yeah.
Does it work at players too? Does it?
Ask Connor Oz. I think he's the only man to win in players 2 years on the trot.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a sweet car.
He had 2 at Players Classic and 1 at the actual player show.
Very good, very good. I must get that man on.
You think I'm hard to understand? Where'd you get Connor? Oh, wait, you'd be able to understand Connor.
So, how's things for you, Ronan? You locked down, working? What are you doing?
Was off for 2 weeks and absolutely flat out since 6 days a week.
So,
because we do
you want to explain to people what you do for a living?
I am a metal fabricator in the pharmaceutical industry, so pharmaceutical places don't stop and they're getting even busier, so we have to be there to take care of them. And
you're quite the welder. You don't undersell yourself. Some of your Instagram posts are metal pornography, basically.
And what I started doing recently with my cars is do really nice welding and then paint it black to piss everyone off. Exactly was the way I thought of doing it. I'm not going to say no to all the overtime going at the moment because, as you may know, things are about to get very expensive in my Volkswagen world. Yeah.
We'll talk about that later on. So, we'll start by going into a bit of background about yourself. So, apart from potato, cheese, and onion crisps, we have known each other probably 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
I'd say it's an awful lot longer now at this stage.
It probably would
be. An awful lot longer.
Yeah. So you're growing up, you're around cars, friends with cars, or how did you get into cars?
Grandfather lived next door and grandfather was a mechanic. So I was always around cars during the summer working with him. Was on a racetrack from a young age, just the smell of petrol always got me going. And then you're going to laugh at my very first car, a Fiat Cinquecento.
Oh, here.
First car.
My mate used to be a dealer for a Rover dealer with a Fiat dealership, and he had one of the first Cinquecento Sportings in Northern Ireland. We drove around Bangor like we were complete players.
Oh, mine was salmon pink, and it was a 0.9 litre.
All right, you were a hairdresser then?
Oh, I was, definitely. At least I don't need a hairdresser during lockdown. We're doing well.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
You need sunglasses to watch me tonight, the reflection off my head.
Yeah. Then took a turn down the old ice route with a Peugeot 306 van with probably about $8,000 of kicker sound system inside in it. Do you remember the days of EMMA? They used to be at all the sound off crowd from the north. They used to do competitions at all the shows.
Was there a different name for it up here? No.
No, well, there were lads from the north who used to come down and do all the shows.
I'm mistaken, there was Cartronics and there was Sound and Motion up here, and they used to run competitions at their premises all the time.
There was a fellow working for Audio Advice at the time. I can't think of his name now, but he built a crazy Beetle a couple of years ago, and it was actually up at Dubshed.
Yeah.
So,
the name slips me, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's working for that other crowd, Top Secret, I think they're called now at the moment. But I used to be palling around with all them with a car that wouldn't get out of its own way, but would blow the windscreen out whenever you wanted to with a sound system. And then that all got sold, and I came across a set of Schmidt TH lines on Dundee. And I always wanted Schmidt TH lines, and I bought them. I had no car to put them on, but I had the wheels. And then I decided, right, what do these fit? I didn't even know what fitment they were. I just bought them. And they were, 4x100.
Then the car hunt started.
Then I bought a Mark III, and then it went from Mark III to Corrado, then went to Skoda VRS, Mark I, Mark I, Mark I, many Mark Is. Now, most of them didn't see the road. You all saw the black one. And then we started building a Berg Cup. And then I had a mad notion to sell everything.
Well, before you march on about the Mark II that people will know lately, the Mark I itself, it started off as a pretty ordinary GTI.
The Mark I started as a dog shed in a woman's garden. Yes. That John Luttrell bought it, resprayed it black, stuck a Mark II GTI engine into it, and he drove that as a daily driver for about a year. I persuaded him to sell it, turned it into a full-fledged GTI for about 6 months. That was first ever time at Dubshed.
Yeah, that was 2017.
That was my first. I'd say it's older than that.
Oh, sorry. 2014. The post was 17. Sorry.
It was just a normal Mark II 8 valve. It was at one of my friend's garages then one night. Complete drift head. Literally just 1J engines all over the place. And I saw an 8 valve block sitting in the corner. And it was painted blue. I said, well, there's only one company paint their blocks blue. Was that a TSR engine? Oh, yeah. It was in my Mark II that I had for 2 days and wrote off. Here's a full folder of all the history of it. TSR cam, everything inside. And I went, how much do you want for this? Well, I need a tunnel made for my drift car. Will you make me a tunnel? Okay, 30 euro in steel and 2 hours work. There's a TSR engine. So we threw a set of Webers on that and put that in the car. That lasted 6 months. Got bored. Bought a G60.
What sort of power was that putting out? The carbs on it? Did you ever find out?
It was on a dyno in Cork, but the establishment didn't have the best name of having a very good dyno. Apparently, It was just a very, very fancy handbrake tester, is what people called it. It made 108 horsepower.
At the wheels?
At the wheels. Same dyno said that my G60 made 150 horsepower at the flywheel. And we both know that it made an awful lot more than that. So, yeah, G60 went in and just every year something else changed. We got cage, set of Recaros.
You had a really nice
turbo.
You had a Porsche wraparound Recaro in at one stage or something, a Club Sport one?
It was a Recaro SBG carbon Kevlar wraparound that was bought stupidly cheap. Somewhere, I think, in New Redirection. I didn't know where it came from because I didn't collect it. I paid the man online, and then John Moog and Jamie Hill picked it up on their way to a wedding down the back of what could only have been described as a very dodgy council estate, and the two lads were in full-fledged penguin suits.
Right. Okay.
Then came down to Cork in the back of Jamie Hill's Polo, got put into my Mark I at 11:30 at night, just eyeballed the seating position, and then drove to the Cork show the next day. The seating position was not right. I could barely reach up. Yeah, what else happened? I couldn't stop putting enough stainless steel into the engine bay. Every time I was bored, I just made a new pipe out of stainless.
Yeah, when you started go down the G60 road, I always like to go over to see what new bit of welding you'd put on the engine bay, because
every show there was something new, and on the way to the Limerick show, I found out why you put a bead of weld around the end of a pipe. Because it blows off and all of your coolant comes out of your rad halfway between Cork and Limerick.
Yeah, I found out the hard way with my VR6 turbo.
Yeah, we all find out the hard way. And then I made a mad decision that I was moving to Australia. And I said, right, we'll have one last hurrah with the car before we get rid of it. Or before we put it in long-term storage or whatever we do. So I contacted Chris Eyre from the GTI Club in England and asked him, would there be any upset if I did a full Akai Golf livery? Seeing as it's quite an iconic car, some people might not like it. And his next reply was about 6 pages of period correct pictures for me to make the right copy.
The AK Golf, that was the Mark 1 Golf that basically dominated the British Saloon Car Championship at the end of the 70s.
It dominated the British Touring Car Championship, and it was Richard Lloyd was driving it, who then became GTI Engineering. So he knew a thing or two about guns. That whole livery got put on the car, got unveiled at Dub Shed.
Hold on, we'll focus in. There we go.
That's all.
That was not a finesse stand. 2017.
That was a good year. And there was a man contacted me. I want to buy your car. Okay, I've heard that before.
But I remember you saying to me, before you put the graphics on, the car didn't really get too much attention. But when you put the graphics on, it was like...
Oh, you could park it in the middle of a car park and no one would look at it twice. And all of a sudden, you spend a couple of €100 on some stickers and it's the centre of attention. Little bit too much attention sometimes. Driving down the road, you pull up to a checkpoint and someone thinks you're actually in a race car. Yeah, especially when you're sitting there with 4-point harnesses, and sometimes there was racing gloves on as well, just for kicks. But after Dub Shed, there was a man contacted me. I'd be interested in buying your car, right? Not going to name names, but I stopped off for a night over in Dublin. This man came to my aunt's house where I was staying, took him for a spin out the road, came back. Here's what I want to give you for the car. Okay. I won't have the money till the end of the month. Fine. 1 month later, a recovery truck pulled up outside the garage, and that was the end of the car. But there was a couple of things that he wanted the car, but he wanted a black Mark 1 GTI with power. He didn't want a cage. He didn't want graphics. He didn't want fancy seats. So we agreed on a price, and I got to keep a lot of that stuff.
He wanted the stealth look, basically.
Yeah, he just wanted a bit of a classic car sleeper look.
Yeah.
And I was happy with the price. He was happy with the price, and Australia fell through.
Sorry, before you move on, what sort of power do you reckon? What model?
I reckon it was
power.
It had a Schrick cam, G-Works Stage 5 charger, 4-branch, full stainless, G-Works chip, RS
outlet,
charger outlet, Sprinter, intercooler. There's a Quave diff in that. There's a CAE shifter on that. I reckon it was definitely up over the 200 mark in a car that weighed about 150 kilos.
I've had a few G60s over the years, and to get over the 200 mark, I would say you're probably well into the 200s with that setup.
Yeah, like you can imagine.
They're notoriously hard to get power out of, and then they become very fragile over 200 brake.
Unless you take off the charger, throw it away, and put a turbo on it.
Turbo on
it. Seems to be the way to go.
The weak link is always the charger.
You see, apparently the chargers are actually very efficient. The problem is the seals. The seals let go. And one of the first times I took it for a good burn after I put the engine in, I found out that the rev limiter in a G60 is actually fuel cut, where my face nearly hit the steering wheel. So I bought an Omex rev limiter, dropped the revs down 100 RPM, and set the rev limiter there, which also came with a launch control button.
That's terrible.
Just involves sitting there at 4,000 revs, shooting flames out the back of it, which can't be good for the charger, but it didn't bother me at the time. Yeah. miss that car.
Yeah.
But again, if I didn't get rid of that, I wouldn't have what I have now.
Yeah, yeah. So moving on then, you were meant to go to Australia, you didn't.
Didn't.
Then you're...
Middle of the summer, I threw a message into a group chat with a couple of Volkswagen friends. I was looking for a new project, something that needs either paint or an engine, not both. One of the lads got into me, I know of something that you might like. Don't say anything, just go look at it. Went to look at it, found a car that needed paint, engine, brake lines, brakes, rust repair. So everything.
Yeah.
But it was a genuine fire and ice. So I bought it then and there on the spot. Story was, Polish man came over to Ireland as they all did back in the Celtic Tiger. When time came to go home, he didn't see the point of bringing the car home with him. Sold it incredibly cheap to a fella I know who was just after having wife, kids, house, couldn't afford to fix the car, put the car in the back of a shed and just stayed there for a long time. Like you saw the pictures of it when I pulled it out of the shed and it was great.
It reminds me of Neil Shane's A86 build.
Yeah. Not as bad with the rust.
No, not
repair,
as bad, but the same sort of idea,
yeah.
complete rebuild.
Oh, same sort of idea, only mine wasn't actually in a field, it was in a cattle shed. But the cattle shed did fall down. So we had to remove some trees, roof and wall to get the car out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I had this stupid notion that for the money that I sold the Mark 1 for, I could build the Mark 2. That doesn't work. That never works. That money runs out very fast. But I had a set of wheels sitting there. I had a set of coilovers sitting there. So, you know, it went together easy. Couldn't decide on what engine to buy. So it was at a friend's birthday and John Moog has a VR6 Mark II. Take that for a spin around. It took it for a spin. I like this, but I don't want a VR6. I want a 24 valve. So I started asking people who would have one. And everyone said, Conor McCann has a few. He might sell you one.
Wait,
no,
that's a price.
fuck off. That was the answer I got. No, you're not having one. And I'm actually very glad Conor said no, because about a week later, I found an entire 3.2 TT in England missing the front brakes for £1,100.
Couldn't be bad at that.
Couldn't be bad at that. Luckily, got it shipped home very cheap. And then that was just the start of about 5 months of very late nights, 4 or 5 nights a week in the shed till about 12 or 1 o'clock, getting it done.
The turnaround that was, when did you start in that? October, November, before Dubshed?
No, the car came home. I think it was probably, the funny thing was the car actually came home the day PVW came out with my Mark 1 out. Because I arrived back to the shed. I didn't even know what the magazine was out. I arrived back to the shed and a couple of the lads called over just to see this car, and one of them just pulls out this magazine and goes, what's that about? Middle page. Oh, that's my car. Well, that was my car. So I think that would have been August. And then it was ready to go at Dubshed after full rust repair, under seal, new brake lines, new brakes, full respray,
24
new engine, conversion. 24 valve conversion. The thing was, came out of an automatic car. So that we had a small problem that we couldn't figure out for a while, where it wouldn't rev past 5,250. Now,
right.
It still moved on a lot up to that. Sent the ECU to a couple of fellas. It's fixed, it's not, it's fixed, it's not. And then Dave Clark said, send it to Vince instead. Sent it over to Vince. I know exactly what's wrong with this. It arrived with him on Monday morning. It came back to me on Wednesday afternoon, put it in the car. I thought the rev limiter went to 6.5. Mine went to 7.2. Rang Vince. Oh yeah, I upped it for you. I was okay. Wasn't expecting it.
What was the issue? Was it the auto box just not letting it, or originally, or
it was kind of, do you know when a DSG car is in park and you rev it, it won't rev all the way up? It literally thought the car was in park the whole time. So he did some ECU wizardry and changed that. ECU came back on Wednesday night, and on Saturday morning it was up at Angelo's in Enniskillen heading down the drag strip.
Yeah.
Never done a test launch, and it didn't even know how fast the car was.
I remember that day. It was a brilliant day, and I could not believe how well that car launched.
There was someone got very upset that day with a very, very powerful car who should have beaten me and didn't. You know, it was all fun between friends, but hi Kyle. Yeah, bit of crack. Yeah, I don't think any of us really expected it to go that fast. In the end, it went 14-0, and that was unmapped without a supercharger. So since then, it got mapped. Then it got a supercharger. Then it got mapped again. So interesting to see what it'll be like next time we get a drag race in Ireland.
Right. So at that stage, at the drag day, had you 6 brands on or anything like that? No?
No, standard cast manifolds with a track slag downpipe and a full 2.5 inch.
A downpipe, a 2.5 intake, no software.
No software.
Right, and then
so I thought it would be about 250 when we brought it to Stealth. We put it on the rotors, unmapped, no software, and it made 268.
That was last June. He met you on the way down the Players Classic.
Yeah, where I thought I'd be done in an hour, and we were there till 5 o'clock and left with a broken clutch. These things happen. Had to limp it the whole way home with a broken clutch. In the end, it made 280,
right,
which was a lot of fun.
I remember meeting you at Players Classic, and you were just going, don't know if we'll be able to make it home or not. My clutch is dosed.
Yeah, it's not Vince's fault. It's not my fault. It's both of our fault. Like, Vince is a genius, and you just see him.
At the end of the day, it was on the rollers all day.
It had done about 10 passes on a drag strip the year before.
Yeah.
And then it was a standard VR6 clutch. Like, I don't know what I was expecting to happen. Since then, clutch got operated, so we should be ready for next year.
You brought her home and put a new clutch in her, and then dark thoughts started coming over you and going, I need to supercharge this.
It's all Dave Clark's fault.
It always is when it comes to that sort of thing.
It's always Dave Clark's fault. You need more power. You want more power, Ronan. Oh, look what I found for sale, Ronan. You should buy this, Ronan. A week later, I was standing with it in my hand going, how did this happen? Yeah, made the phone call to Vince again. How will this work out? Bolt it on your car, keep it under 3,500 revs, drive it over to me and we'll map it. Okay, did that. That was last October, went over again, up in the rollers for the day. Made a kind of a weekend out of it with the missus, went over, booked into a hotel, made a couple of days. I don't think she knew what she was in for. Getting off a ferry at 5 o'clock in the morning, cannonballing down through England, arriving to Stealth at 11, staying at Stealth until 5. And she was just sat in the reception and watched Friends on her phones all day. And she's still with me, so doing well.
That's a good sign. Good sign.
Yeah. Fast forward then to this year. Bought a load of cleaning products.
I think 2020 has been a bad year for a lot of people and everywhere.
Yeah.
But so particularly year Mark II, Ronan. So
the car sat in the sheds, waiting for Dub Shed to come around. Bought a load of cleaning products. Was just about to go to the shed. First show of the year, big clean, and the announcement came out: no Dub Shed postponed. Right, let's go to the shed and take the car out. Brought the car home. A few of the friends rang. Do you want to go for a spin on Paddy's Day? Went for a spin. Little bit of a spirited drive every now and again. It was very wet, so 320 horsepower in a Mark II in the wet, wasting your time. Tipping along in traffic at about 60k, and I could hear,
oh no,
it's my splitter falling off. Genuinely thought it was a bit of the undercarriage. And what I used to do is open the window and clutch in. Oh, I can't hear anything. Clutch out. What the fuck is that? I better pull in and check this. A max 2 kilometers were driven, which is already way too much. Pulled in. As I turned to pull in, pushed in the clutch, car conked. This isn't good. One of the lads was behind me, pulled in, opened the bonnet. Why is there a load of oil vapor coming out of the breather? That can't be good. No. Try and start this. Dunk. Oh, that sounds like it's seized. That's not good. Right, it's obviously broken now, so we'll really try and start it. So I gave it a fistful of throttle, turned the key, and I was just met with knocka. Right, turn it off, ring the AA. Turned around to one of the lads, he went, "How are you not absolutely freaking out?" I said, shit happens. Like,
it is what it is.
at the end of the day, it was an engine with probably 100,000 miles on it, completely original internals, 11-to-1 compression, seeing 8 psi.
And it got the death for 2 years, basically.
It was one careful owner since it went into a Mark II.
So what, sorry?
It had one careful owner since it went into a Mark II. It
So
got serviced.
Is it in the shed there now, is it?
So, I'll turn around here now. There's the Mark II. Sitting there, looking a bit sorry for herself. With nothing in the bed. So, engine sitting there with absolutely nothing in it. Head is there. And I wonder now, can we see the damage? And that should be all nice and shiny. And it's
there's a bit of scoring there, Ronan.
And it's quite rough. So, like, can you hear it?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, that's not good. So, turn it back around now. I had 2 people contact me going, "Heard you had a bit of bother. I think you should sell your Charger." Why would I sell it? That's stupid. I'm just going to build the engine stronger. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, should I sell it? Should I sell it? So what I did was I rang Vince again. Sell it. Buy a turbo. So replied to these 2 people. Are you serious about buying it? Yeah, right. You were at it first. Can't commit to it now. Okay. Chap in London. Yeah, I have money sitting here waiting. Get it wrapped up, put it in a box. Okay, no problem. I'll take your downpipe as well. Right, fair enough. So as of next week, I'll be the proud owner of a Borg Warner SXE257, which is about that big.
Just a wee tiddler.
Yeah, it'll be big.
But that'll only be half of the battle. The pistons and all the gubbins will be the tasty bits about it.
I was chatting to Vince over at Stealth, and he said, realistically, what power do you want? I said, I don't know. He went, are you saying front wheel drive? Yes. Right. 400 horsepower. I can give you 450 if you want, but it'll be pointless. For 400 horsepower, the only reason you would put in Wasner piston, put a headspace into it, and it lasts for.
Hello?
Ah, you're there now. Yeah, we're back. So he pretty much said, put a head spacer in and 2 head gaskets, obviously injectors and upgrade everything else, but he said, there's no need for the pistons and rods for the power you're going for, which I was quite happy about because that's about €1,500 and then machining on top of it. Still going to be expensive.
Yeah.
But luckily, for some reason during lockdown, people seem to be saving money and buying car parts. I think this shows one thing, how much money people spend in the pub.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because all of a sudden people have 2 and 3 grand just to throw around at car parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of up to date where we are. Not a Mark II.
Is that yours?
No, I rent a shed with 3 of my friends. So
basically, you're like a small juice box outfit.
With about quarter of their money. So this is an original Irish GTI that is going back completely standard and will be quite clean. This is BBM Mark II 8 valve that just had a bit of a respray and is getting polished up. Same man owns that muck. And then there's That thing.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Although it doesn't have what you'd expect. It has a
There's an
reliable
LS
engine.
in it?
No, not quite. You know, how do we open this thing? There's a 1J.
Wow.
Yeah. As you can tell, this man is also a welder. Lobster back, everything.
Right.
So that's
Good to have a
tour
few
of
friends
the
sharing a
shed.
unit with you.
It is. The only problem now is I used to live about 5 minutes away from here, and now I live half an hour away. Don't tell anyone I broke restriction to get here. We won't say about that.
No.
So it's just, you kind of have to plan your trips a bit more now. It's right, I'm going to the shed for the day. Have I got everything? You can't be running home to get tools. It was fine when I was 5 minutes away. Oh, need this, go home and get it. It's a case of plan for a long day. But yeah, it's grand. Bit of crack with the lads.
Yeah.
This place.
Well, it's half the battle when you have the car in your own garage. You know, some nights you just do whatever. But if you're sharing with people, you know, you can go over for a bit of crack and maybe do a bit of work at the same time.
Well, quite often what happens here is during the summers, what we used to do was go out during the day, work on the cars, wash the daily, then a barbecue would happen and some bottles, and you didn't go home.
It sounded more and more like juice box room.
Oh yeah, and Thomas has just pointed out. You think the juice box boys are hatches, so they go around on bicycles. We go around on this.
Oh, go-karts class.
Yeah, that's a 125cc gearbox cart that got driven on the road with a DeWalt flashlight type.
Oh, we're losing you. Please come back this running. The A86, is that just a standard twin cam or is there anything done to it?
It's not standard. So, hold on there now. It was never standard, Thomas, was it? So, that is the engine bay. Set of throttle bodies. 16 valve.
Very nice.
And...
Did you say it was 20 valve or 16 valve?
16 valve.
16 valve.
Big Watanabe's. It's locked. And then bride seat, roll cage, you know, the usual.
It's an import, is it?
Jap twin cam in Ireland.
Nice.
So yeah, this is
I
where
have a sort of soft spot for them because where I grew up, there was a lot of them when I was younger.
I was only talking to a friend recently. When I was 19, I walked away from a pop-up light Truno Jap twin cam for $4,000 because he wanted 4.3 and I only had $4,000 to pay, and it had no rust, and I walked away from it because it was too expensive.
When I passed my test, twin cams were going for around $3,000. That's how old I am.
One of the lads found a Northern Ireland auto trader. Can't remember what year, but there was a dealer had 4 UK twin cams, all under £1,500. You could add zeros onto the end of that now.
There was a friend of mine, he went to university in Birmingham, and he started up importing twin cams into Ireland. He would go out during the week and buy the twin cams and park them outside his house. And then after a week or two, when he had gathered up 5 or 6, the transporter would come along and drive them back to Ireland. That's how he kept himself in drink at university.
There's a very famous man in Ireland who has made a living out of buying and selling twin cams. And there's some very dodgy stories about how they got home from the port.
Is that a man in Cookstown? No?
No, it's a man from the Juice Box videos called Mr. X.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There's some stories about a couple of cars going from Dublin Port home that were not road legal. And that's just the way the country has been for twin cams for years. Look, we all walked away from stupid cars back in the day that are worth a fortune now. Like
life full of regret with cars anyway. You know this?
yeah.
Move on to shows. Ronan, what's your favourite shows, or what shows have you gone to over the years? What are your favourite shows? Ireland, UK, you know, what floats your boat?
Dub Shed always start of the year. It's kind of a big weekend away for all of us because we're down in Cork. It's about 4-hour journey up. Go up on the Friday. You always let us put the cars in on the Friday. Back to the hotel. Few too many drinks. Hungover Saturday. Miss half the show. Out again Saturday night. It was the show, the atmosphere, meeting people that you haven't seen in 6 months, even more. So there were some people that used to go to Dub Shed and that was it. You'd only see them once a year.
Castlewell was like that too. You get people that wouldn't go to Dub Shed, maybe go to Castlewell instead. You wouldn't see them until every year.
I've only been to Castlewellan twice, and that's probably when you and me kind of became better friends. Was the first year I went to Castlewellan. There was 1 year I said I'm going to go to every single Irish show, and it's going to pick then from then on what I liked and what I didn't. So I went to Castlewellan, decided, everyone goes camping, I'll go camping. No one from Cork went. Ronan arrives into the middle of a campsite. Didn't know anyone. There's a few cars over there, I'll park by them.
That's right. I remember that.
Nigel, Connor, and I think Matt arrive over. Yeah, arrive over. Hi Ronan, can we see your CAE gear shifter? That was literally the introduction. And then it was, by the way, we have a load of beer and a barbecue and a fire if you want to come over. And that was it. Good night until my tent flooded and my phone floated. And yeah, been to Castlewellan twice. And it's always a good show. Other shows in Ireland, the Vade show was always good. You started going back in Mill Island when it was in the middle of Fermoy. It's moved around a bit. I like the new location.
I used to love it. I loved it when it was at Mill Island.
Yeah, the problem is Mill Island is not there anymore. It got taken away for flood prevention. I think they have it started now with the go-kart track. It's kind of unique. It's kind of what the lads do with dust off. Same kind of thing around the track. It worked twice now, and they had it booked again for this year, but obviously that's not going to happen. MLVW boys, since they got their new location, has come on leaps and bounds. Yeah. The night before makes it as well. Just even if you don't drink, which is the problem with most of us, is we all drink too much in these situations. I have nothing bad to say about any Irish show.
But that is shows. Like it's about cars, but it's the crack and getting together with people. Like, you know,
it's our socialising group as well. Like, you spend nights in the sheds all year, so you want to meet up with the lads and blow off. Like, English shows. I went to G2 International once years ago. I liked the drag racing. Wasn't a huge fan of the show. Just wasn't my scene. And then Conor Alls got on to me 1 year. What did we do? Players Classic. I think it was a 1 day show the year we went. Mm-hmm. It blew my mind.
The location, it's good. Anybody that doesn't know, Players Classic. It's a Goodwood motor circuit. Where is that, near Chichester?
It's down in Chichester. Yeah, Goodwood. Yeah, exactly. It's the way that you see Goodwood, and the grass is sectioned off at Goodwood. You're not allowed to walk on the grass. Players Classic comes along, you can park cars on the grass. And it's the thing of, in an Irish show, I don't want to park on the grass, I want to be on the tarmac. When you go to Players, if you're asked to park on the grass, you're going to elbow everyone out of the way to get on the grass. That's where you want to be. It absolutely blew my mind. The organisation, like, you're at the gate at 8 o'clock. Your car is parked at 8:05. Your car is cleaned by, depending on how long you spend cleaning, 9 o'clock. And you're walking around the show at 10 o'clock, and you said, so not even in the gate at most Irish shows at this stage, because, you know, we don't get up in the morning. We're lazy. The gates aren't open. It's the atmosphere, the standard of cars. There's no bad cars there. Like, there's no bad cars at any show really, but it absolutely blew my mind. And then had to go back every year.
I flew over 2 years ago, blew my mind, and then last year I drove the Edition 30 over. The drive down, like we went over in the Thursday overnight sailing to Liverpool and drove down, stopped in when you had Stealth Racing. Then you told us that Caffeine Machine was close by.
Yeah.
Went over there. It's amazing. Drove on down to Chichester. It was a belter of a weekend, 25 degrees, beautiful countryside. Show for 2 days. They do the track day on the Saturday and then the show day on the Sunday. And then we drove slowly home. We're home Monday evening.
It's just sitting on the bank at Goodwood with what you've watched on TV, and there's just Burton powered Mark II's flat down the straight, then followed by Golf R's, Ford's Motorsports.
Ford's Motorsports
blew up in front of you. Yeah. And I love the fact the lads then didn't try and hide it, that it blew up. It blew up. We saw how far it would go before blowing up.
They basically said, this is what motorsport's about. It's development. This has done X amount of track days on the limiter. That's what happens.
The other thing then with players was how you can walk up to absolutely anybody and just start the conversation. You could be there for an hour talking to them. Paddy McGrath from Speed Hunters, me and him were the only two Southern Irish fellas over there. So, of course, decided we can only play Camucci Black and Tans out of our cars while we were there. Which, surprisingly, no one knew what it was about.
Nope.
He introduced me to Dale from Maguire's. Got chatting to him. So when I went back over to Vince to get the car mapped out with the supercharger, Maguire's is only 20 minutes away. Come down. Come down for a day in the bay. Come down for... You don't get it over here.
Yeah.
Just being able to walk up to absolutely anyone, spark up a conversation, it's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Not going to make it this year if they manage to rerun it again in August, obviously, but it's definitely on my cards for next year.
It's a show now. As you know, I've done a lot of shows over the last 10 years flying here.
Because you're old.
Sorry?
Because you're old.
Yeah, basically. And I think Players Classic is a show that I wouldn't miss now every year, whether I have to fly to it or drive to it.
It's kind of a mini holiday because it costs about €1,000 to do it. Mm-hmm. Between the price of your ferry, your accommodation, your fuel, your food and drink for the weekend, it's €1,000. So I'd already said I was out this year whether the car blew up or not, because just got a house, other things are important. We'll take a year out, we'll do it again next year. So looking forward to the show starting up again. And for once, I'm not actually in a rush to get the car done. I was always in a rush going, car has to be done before Dub Shed, has to be done for the start of the year. It's not done. I'll just drive up my daily. I'm still going to go.
Yeah, it's a bit. Shows aren't looking good this year. Like, I think it's going to be along the same lines as pubs and restaurants by the looks of it. So they're even worse, maybe. I don't know.
You see, they're talking about limiting the amount of people in an area. Like, do you know how many people are going to turn up to Dub Shed every year?
Yeah, and then how can you provide social distancing and all this? Deal with it when we're allowed to, basically.
Yeah, but it's good to see there's an awful lot of projects starting to get done and get finished over this lockdown.
Yeah,
there'll be a lot of nice cars appear out of nowhere next year. Things that have been on the long finger for a while or long bills. You
know Andy Maxwell?
I do.
He finally got cracking on his Audi 100 turbo.
Right.
He has new coilovers for it, completely stripped down, rebushing it. That has sat in his shed probably 2 or 3 years now. And with lockdown, he's got stuck into it.
You know Connor Auld?
Yeah.
Connor said, no, the Beamer. He said this year was the first time he was ready on time for Dub Shed. And today he took delivery of a turbo. So the whole thing is coming apart again and it's getting a big turbo.
The cat's out of the bag now.
Well, he put it up on Facebook, so not exactly a secret, like. But yeah. So I think that's only Jamie Hill from the Potato Bread lads who doesn't have a turbo.
Oh no.
Call him out now.
Right. Thanks very much for chatting to us, Ronan. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I hope everyone could understand me with my southern accent and talking too fast.
Yeah, spoke very well. Thanks for giving us a tour around your cars, and keep listening.
Yeah, I'm still there. Thanks, Nigel, and keep up the good work on the podcast. Always gives me a laugh in work when it comes out. Thanks very much.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have it returned to normal instead of over the phone soon. So
I think you're making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll have an improved recording this week because I've got the lend thanks to Mark Hill of another Zoom recorder. So hopefully my end the quality will be a wee bit better this time. So we're recording on Sunday. It'll hopefully be out Sunday or Monday. Hopefully be out next Wednesday as usual. So,
That's the job. Look forward to it. And thanks very much for having me on, Nigel.
Good man. Thanks, Ronan. Take it easy.
Have a good one, lads.
Good luck. Bye-bye. Right, guys. Thanks very much. We'll just put a pin in it there. Keep listening to the podcast. We'll do another lockdown log. We're going to have Robin from Studio 10 in for a quick chat on lockdown logs on Thursday evening. I think Connor has a few guys lined up for the weekend. Nothing confirmed, I don't think yet. But yes, thanks very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll keep these going as long as we can. Seem to be enjoying it. Right, take it easy, guys. Bye.